Transfiguration movement number 46, Against the Great Whore and the Serpent of Old, by Mikael Korbanyahu. And the meaning of his garment, of the snake of idol worship, when the snake comes to conjoin with the body of a sleeping person. For she, the brazen whore, said, "Lie down with me." It is stated of the sign of the covenant of circumcision, and he escaped and went outside. And because of this, even if a snake is wound around his heel, he should not interrupt his prayer. Even if it surrounds that point of the letter dalet, he should not stop. For if he stops, then because of him is withdrawn the tip of the dalet of echad, and there remains acher, which is the wound up snake. Because of the snake, he should not stop, and it is not withdrawn, unlike when he stops and flees from it. But if for a scorpion he should stop, as did the righteous Yosef, it is this that it is written, Genesis 39:12, and he left his garment with her, and he escaped. Meanwhile, behold, a young man happened by them, driving a donkey after cattle. They said to him, "What is?" And he left his garment with her. But the word akrav is composed of akar and the letter bayit, for it has uprooted the house of the Shekinah. When it wants to be conjoined with the righteous, one is required to desist from it and not to benefit from it, and even from its skin. Go, go, we say to the Nazarite, take a circuitous route. Do not approach the vineyard. It is this that is written, and he left his garment with her, the skin of the evil inclination, and this is the garment of the snake, idol worship. When it comes to conjoin with the righteous and it says, "Lie with me," the brazen whore, then it is stated the sign of the covenant of circumcision, and he fled, and he went outside. Tikhunei Zohar 42:23 through 43:1. Adultery rarely begins with a single act. It begins with a whisper, an invitation, wrapped in desire, cloaked in charisma, and laced with illusion. Besides those sweet nothings, seduction isn't merely physical. It's psychological warfare and spiritual sabotage. It entices the body, manipulates the mind, and severs the spirit. And when it is not resisted, it becomes a covenant of confusion, a ritual of forgetting, a slow surrender of sacred identity, all constricting our soul in its vice grip of darkness and death. This article, Against the Great Whore and the Serpent of the Spirit, is not just a personal reflection. It's a prophetic confrontation. It exposes the spiritual architecture of seduction, how lust masquerades as liberation, how pride builds an altar in our intellect, and how both spirits conspire to drain the breath of Elohim's purpose from our lives. The Great Whore is not just a metaphor for sexual immorality. She is a system, a spirit, a seductress of nations. She operates through culture, religion, and even charisma, leading many into spiritual adultery, where covenant is traded for convenience, and truth is diluted for desire. The Serpent of Old, her ancient accomplice, does not strike with fangs, but with emotion and philosophy. It whispers half-truths that sound like freedom, but lead to fragmentation. Together, they weave a web of deception that ensnares and entangles hearts, distorts identities, and poisons communities. Their influence is not limited to bedrooms. It permeates podiums, pulpits, platforms, and paradigms. This testimony is not just about my personal fall into lust. It's more so about the spiritual consequences of seduction itself. It's a clarion call to recognize how easily we are lured into spiritual adultery, how subtly we are rewired by pride, and how urgently we must return to covenant. It is a shofar blast against the counterfeit intimacy that leaves us hollow and summons us to reclaim the sacredness of our bodies, minds, and spirits. Let this writing serve as a warning and a witness. Seduction is not just a moment of pleasure. It's a portal to bondage. And unless we discern the spirits behind the allure, we risk becoming temples of contradiction, preaching truth while practicing deception, craving wholeness while leaking and losing identity. For me, it was in 1993 when I literally just turned 18 that I lost my virginity. Sadly, the experience wasn't connected to a relationship, and I can't even say that it was something that I did in love. Basically, it was just in lust and hunger that I soiled my oats, a hunger that I didn't yet know was spiritual. That moment, my first time, wasn't at all holy, but it was hollow. And though I didn't feel the weight of guilt and shame until years later, I do recall, even in my ignorance, something spiritual pressing down on me. It took me years to process it, but eventually, it was an account that I had to reconcile. The more I think about it, lust isn't just sexual. It is spiritual hunger misdirected. Lust is the craving for connection without covenant, for pleasure without purpose. The great whore traffics in lust. Her lips drip honey, but her path leads to death. She teaches that desire is sovereign, that boundaries are oppressive, that holiness is outdated. She turns bodies into currency and intimacy into spectacle. In Revelation, she is clothed in scarlet and gold, drunken on the blood of the saints. Her seduction is global, through media, religion, fashion, and fame. Pride, meanwhile, is the serpent's crown. It was pride that led him to say, I will ascend, I will be like the Most High. Pride is the refusal to submit, the exaltation of self over spirit. Pride is basically the doctrine of autonomy, the God spell of ego. The serpent whispers pride into pulpits and politics, into theology and identity. He teaches that Torah is beneath us, that obedience is weakness, that we are gods unto ourselves. Pride blinds us to correction, deafens us to covenant, and hardens us against repentance. Together, lust and pride have eclipsed the world in darkness. Nations are drunk on seduction, churches are swollen with ego, movements are built on charisma, not character. The body of Messiah is infected with teachings that affirm desire, but deny discipline, that celebrate self, but crucify submission. The oral tradition warns, he who exalts himself shall be humbled, and he who walks without restraint shall be broken. This struggle to gain control over these two demons isn't just cultural, it's all-out spiritual warfare. Lust and pride aren't moods, they are altars, and many souls have laid upon them, unaware they are even being offered and consumed. Fortunately, the eclipse is not total yet, but in consideration of all, it's clear that their spells are spreading, and the only remedy is return. Return to Torah, return to covenant, return to the humility of Messiah, who emptied himself, into the purity of the bride, who makes herself ready. How do you do this, you might ask? Well, I know this darkness because I once lived in it. I know its weight, its seduction, its illusion. But I also know the light that breaks it, the light of truth, the light of obedience, and yes, the light of transfiguration. So in this light, let us together expose the shadows, tear down the altars, and walk in the fires of holiness. See, what I've come to realize about the serpent in Eden is that it didn't just lie. It redefined reality. Did Elohim really say? That question still echoes in pulpits, podcasts, and platforms today. The serpent's venom is antinomianism, the false doctrine that grace nullifies Torah, that Messiah came to erase the law rather than fulfill it. But Torah is eternal. It is the covenantal blueprint for living in alignment with Yah. The serpent's venom teaches lawlessness as liberty. But scripture tells us sin is Torahlessness, lawlessness. 1 John 3:4. This deception fractures the body of Messiah, creating believers who profess his name, but reject his instruction. The oral tradition warns us, he who says, I have no need of the commandments, denies the very breath of life. Pirkei Avot teaches that the Torah is not just law, it's light, and those who walk without it stumble in darkness. The line of thinking clearly reveals that Torah observance is not legalism, it is rather alignment. The serpent's doctrine, on the other hand, teaches that obedience is bondage, but Torah teaches that obedience is freedom. That's in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19 and 20. Proverbs warns that a strange woman whose lips drip honey, but whose path leads to Sheol, or the grave, from Proverbs 5, 3 and 5. To understand the essence of this passage is to know that she is not just a person, she is a system. Revelation calls her Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, Revelation 17:5. She lustfully rides the beast, seductively intoxicates nations, and ruthlessly merchandises souls. Her teachings are enticing, prosperously proclaiming that faith is a product to be sold, that worship is entertainment, that covenant identity is obsolete, and that Torah is bondage. She preaches promise without obedience, intimacy without holiness, and unity without truth. Her wine is sweet, but it's poisonously laced with wormwood. The oral tradition speaks of her in veiled terms. She who flatters with her tongue and multiplies her garments is not a daughter of Sion. In Revelation, she is the one who sits on many waters, understood to be nations' people's tongues, seducing them with spiritual syncretism and commercialized religion. She is the architect of the replacement theology, the mother of doctrines that erase Israel and exalts empire. These deceptions have infected the body of Messiah spiritually, disconnecting believers from the Torah's roots of faith. Now the world worships a false Messiah who is divorced from the Torah, the appointed times, Israel the people, and Israel the land. For the people, we have emotionally allowed identity confusion to breed insecurity and spiritual apathy. Believers don't know if they are sons or servants, grafted or replaced. Intellectually, theology becomes fragmented, divorced from covenant context. The scriptures are read through Greco-Roman lenses, stripping them of their prophetic rhythm. Physically, bodies are commodified and holiness is mocked. Sexual purity is seen as outdated, and modesty is ridiculed. We see churches that celebrate grace but ignore justice, movements that preach inclusion but erase Israel, leaders who quote Yeshua but reject his Torah. In this light, it is clear to see that the serpent teaches rebellion as revelation, and the whore teaches seduction as spirituality. Together, they have built temples of confusion and altars of compromise. But healing begins with truth, and truth begins with return. Children of Elohim, it is time that we must return to Torah, not as legalism, but as divine design. The commandments are not burdens, they are boundaries of blessing. Shabbat is not restriction, it is rhythm. The feasts are not rituals, they are rehearsals of redemption. The dietary laws are not limitations, they are sanctifications of the body. We must expose, rebuke, and come out of Babylon. We have to identify and reject her teachings rooted in spiritual syncretism. Let us detox from commercialized religion and celebrity faith culture. We must be bold and knowledgeable enough to tear down altars built on empire and rebuild the ancient paths, Jeremiah 6:16. We must restore our covenant identity, embrace our heritage and spiritual status with humility and honor. We must reaffirm the eternal covenant with Israel and the sojourner, Exodus 12:49, and reject replacement theology and reclaim the prophetic promise, I will write my Torah on their hearts, Jeremiah 31:33. We must rebuild sacred intimacy, purify our bodies, minds, and spirits from whoredom, practice holiness in relationships, speech, and thought. Let our sexuality be sanctified, not sensationalized, and let our love be covenantal, not conditional. We must reignite prophetic consciousness, speak truth with fire and clarity. Let us create art, sermons, and gatherings that confront deception and call for return. Let our voices be trumpets, our lives altars. If you see it the way that I was shown, then you know that this is not just an article. It's a movement, a call to transfiguration. It is now our time to rise from the ashes of deception and walk in the fire of covenant. Yes, the great whore and the serpent of old still whisper, still seduce, still deceive. But we must know that we are not powerless. We are not forgotten. We are the remnant, the awakened, the ones who remember. So let us be holy. Let us return. Let us rebuild. Let us transfigure. Stay loud.